we've gotten several calls just in the past week about children and adults actually eating the seeds from the pit of some fruit that is dangerous. Cherry seeds, apple seeds, peach pits, they all contain cyanogenic compounds which are quite toxic. It really has to do with how much someone eats of it, but we wouldn't recommend eating any of that, and certainly parents should be aware if they see their child chewing on a pit, or if somebody thinks, oh, I can eat the whole apple with the seeds inside. We really don't recommend that. If someone wants to eat berry or fruit, they really should eat berries and fruit that have been cultivated specifically for consumption. If you go to the grocery store and you buy something they're selling, you know that's safe. Or if you happen to have in your yard some apple trees that you know are for consumption, that's fine. But picking wild things out in the out on a hike or picking things around your yard has some risk, and especially for children. Children should never pick something, even if they think they recognize it, and say, oh, I know this is a strawberry or a raspberry or whatever, until they've talked to their parents. And so the parents need to spend time with their children saying, don't eat anything unless you've talked to me first. Berries that are out currently and that will be out in the fall, berries like pokeweed. People will often confuse pokeweed because it looks a little bit like a blueberry, and it stains your hands and it has that color, but it can make someone quite sick, especially sick to their stomach, GI kind of symptoms that are fairly unpleasant. That's one. There's some berries that look like grapes, and the plants look a lot like a grape plant, but it's not a grape plant, so you want to not eat that. There are other plants that are quite common, climbing nightshade. And climbing nightshade's a bit of a masquerader. It can climb up a tree or a bush, and you think that it's growing on a tree or a bush, but it's really a vine. It also is very common in low-lying areas where you see other low plants, and it has nice little red seeds on it that can be quite attractive. There are some plants that are especially toxic. We think of things like lily of the valley, and those have a beautiful little red berry on them. They're very low to the ground. They're actually considered an invasive plant in this area, and so they can be quite prolific, and just a few berries can make someone very sick. Mushrooms are an issue specifically with things that may look safe but not be safe, and there's a lot of mushrooms in the yard. In the fall we see a lot more, especially. There's certainly some in the summer, and there's some very toxic ones that we worry about, especially in the fall, and those can look quite safe and harmless and be flavorless and certainly not offensive for her child when they eat them, and yet get them very sick later. Now there are some berries, there's other berries that we do worry about, but there's also a lot of berries out there that are not necessarily a problem. We don't expect everyone to know this is toxic, this isn't toxic. It would be a great idea if they're eating a berry to call the Poison Center at our 1-800-222-1222 phone number and say, this is what my child was eating. Is this a problem? Or if you have a plant that you're worried about because it is so common in your yard or in your area, get a piece of it and give us a call. Bring it inside, describe it to us, and we'll do our best to help you identify it. If not, you can try one of the local nurseries and see if they'll help you to identify what that plant is. And then you can call us and say, is this a plant we need to worry about or not worry about? You can do that ahead of time. We're happy to take phone calls and help with that.